Let's dive right into this. So, dealing with intense, extreme social anxiety or dealing with extreme hypersensitivity can be extremely draining, extremely exhausting. Um, it can drive you to isolation, to basically not wanting to interact with people, avoiding social situations. And what I would love to share now is basically just everything that I have experienced with this, and I know exactly how brutal and difficult this is, and how it can really just affect your life in a way that you're constantly in a state of fear, constantly nervous, constantly anxious. You know, for me, like it's been bearable, and I've learned how to deal with it, and I've also learned how to uh, significantly reduce it. And it all comes down to, once again, what your attention and focus is on and learning how to use your mind. Okay, so let's dive right into this. Okay, so extreme anxiety from social situations, it's basically, it all comes down to, it stems from fear, basically a fear of people, fear of being judged, fear of uh, basically like giving too much, caring too much about what others think. And to be honest with you, like for the longest time, I thought for myself that nah, I don't care what people think of me. They can think whatever they want. But I didn't realize that I actually really did care what people thought of me. For example, voicing your opinion in front of people and sticking with it, and being having confidence in that. Or wanting to be liked. That was one big thing for me, and I think a lot of people out there as well. Just trying to please people, being nice, being overly nice, constantly being nice. And it's great to be nice, but I think it's also more important to have that, be yourself, and remember that we're all different. We're all different, and humans try to stick into little groups for to feel more secure and safe. So this is where you can sometimes get bullying. People will kind of stick together and then just pick on others just for their own survival because they're afraid. So but at the end of the day, even people within groups, even within families, are totally unique and totally different. So you know, we've all got to realize that, and the world is moving. In some regards, it's moving backwards, but in other regards, it's moving forwards in a big way. And there's a huge movement of people who are becoming more aware. And you know, our world in the past was more about, we've come from a world of like where fear was more important. Like it was more important to be afraid just so that you can be protected, and not get killed. So always being on the lookout. But now the world that we're moving into, fear actually hurts us. See, fear thinks it's trying to protect us, and keep us safe, but now it's hurting us. Now we're kind of evolving into a world where we've got to learn how to use our love more, to be kind more, to be more open, to be more accepting. And it's a difficult transition. It can be a difficult transition if you've been not only used to the fear side for so many years, but also if it's been kind of ingrained generationally, like with your parents' parents, culturally, you know. So I get emails sometimes from people who are going through breakups, and because the parents of the person that they are in love with doesn't accept it. So there's always these. There can always be cultural things, but now it's important for us all as a community of people to be trying to like exercise more of our love or our acceptance. So how you do it is basically by just doing it, by practicing it. For me, I think a good one for fear is to always bring your focus back to yourself, and to almost put blinders on for a while, because with the extreme debilitating social anxiety, you're basically going to have an extreme fear of people, and you're going to go out, and your awareness and attention is going to be on other people and what their intentions are towards you, what their thoughts are towards you. What so when you go out with that mindset, it's very draining because your awareness is on your surroundings more. You're thinking more of like, what's this person gonna do, what's this person thinking of me, what's this person's judgment of me, and it can be very draining. So putting blinders on is really something that has helped me a lot. Like, I'll go out and I'll just focus on what I'm doing, and I'll kind of keep to myself, even like not making eye contact, which can be weird and strange and maybe difficult to do. But my viewpoint on this is that it's more important for you to resonate good, comfortable, peaceful vibes to people and not look at them in the eye than it is to like force yourself to look people in the eye and resonate nerves, anxiety, and just discomfort. So that's just my own personal uh, opinion. I think you don't want to get used to like having blinders on all the time and like not looking at people in the eye. I think that you've got to, this has to be like as part of a process towards helping you to refocus yourself. So you do this just to keep your focus, and then, for example, I started doing this like, and I started seeing results after about, actually about a month, but real results after about 3 months. And then what happens is when you do bring your attention to yourself and you put blinders on rather than looking at people all the time and what they're thinking of and looking at you, then you start to like focus on your own goals and things that are interesting to you. Like, I'll start to think about music that I want to write, or um, some a project that I want to work on, or you know, whatever it is. It's you kind of go into your own world again, and this is what a lot of spiritual teachers call being present. And it doesn't mean that you have to be aware of your immediate surroundings to be present. You can kind of have a mix of creative thinking and also being aware of your presence of your surroundings. But I want to also talk about like how this occurs. Like, how do we become highly sensitive or develop extreme debilitating anxiety? And to me, it seems clear that, at least through my breakdown and analysis, self-analysis, I have found that, or at least I believe that it's come from just being hurt by people. Okay, so whether it's through bullying or uh, being let down by people. What trust comes into this a lot. Having your trust broken, or so any sort of like trauma, pain, anything caused by people. I think it seems pretty clear will cause a fear of people, which will make you anxious to be around people because in our modern world, it can be through just something mean, something someone will say to you, or again, like I said, going back to bullying and stuff, like people trying to keep you down. And the unfortunate thing with the bullying is that it often is directed at people with talent, because people are jealous and afraid, so they'll try to put those people down. So that can be a bit of a shame sometimes, but uh, we're always going to express ourselves no matter what, even if we have a severe fear and we can't express ourselves through talking with people. For me, I've been able to like thankfully do it through music, or I can express myself through martial arts. So we'll always find a way. That energy within you is always going to find a way to come out and express itself. But having said that, I think that it's nice to be able to communicate with people. There's no better feeling than to be in a group of people and just to be able to interact and feel accepted and not feel like there needs to be a competition between people to see who's better, which unfortunately exists everywhere in our world. But, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. So for you, you don't have to get involved with that stuff. You can allow people to do their thing, but you also do your thing and focus on you. And the key is to get to a place where you don't care about what people think. So again, real quick, going back to how I believe this is all caused, I think when you have traumatic experience with people hurting you or whatever, the effect any trauma has on the mind, in my opinion, is it creates a new layer of awareness in your mind. You become more aware. So it's like a new activated uh, layer of consciousness to police all the other layers that existed before it. And this is why I believe that there's, like for example, some spiritual teachers, including Muji, will talk about who's watching the watcher, who's observing the observer, I just don't believe that there's one observer observing the observer. I believe that it will be endless, like two mirrors facing each other. It's just unlimited. And it's just a case of when you can tap into a new layer of awareness, then you'll become aware of it. But there's always going to be another layer of observation and awareness. But anyway, I don't want to get too deep into that. Some of you are thinking, what's he going on about? But when you get hurt, the mind creates a new level of awareness to protect us in the future. But the problem is that you're basically becoming more aware. Okay, and there's advantages of that in that it protects you, but the disadvantages are that it can be overwhelming. Like you're going to go out in the world and where when you were maybe 6 or 7, you weren't that aware. You were just kind of focused on your toys and getting to your friend's house and you know the ice cream you want or the movie. There was a few things, and your mind was so focused on fewer things, and it's why it's so beautiful when we're younger because uh, less energy is drained by worries, and more of our energy is diverted on absorbing, which is love, which is accepting, and just going out in the world and just absorbing stuff. But as we get older, we start to like close off in the because of the fear and because of all the traumas we've experienced. So again, it all comes down to reconditioning yourself, which is totally possible. You just have to do it every day and practice every day. Be more open, more loving. It's going to be hard sometimes. Like you go out in social situations, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But there's so many different tips and techniques to helping with this. For me, like I said, it's this. Look at the words hypersensitivity. People calling it now hypersensitive, highly sensitive people. And it's what I'm talking about. It's basically, you get hurt, you become more aware, and the world can become overwhelming because your senses have become a lot more heightened and sharpened in order to protect you so that you can be more aware. But what's what's actually happening is that you're going to start to prefer you're going to be called more introverted. You're going to prefer darker, lower lighting, fewer things. You're going to be able to just sit and enjoy looking at trees or nature because you've become so much more sensitive, and your sense, the word sensitive is sense. Your senses have become much more sharper that you can just You'll absorb more from simpler things. And if you go out around people and crowds, big environments, it can almost be so overwhelming because your senses have been activated to a point which is so like open, so vast that it can be overwhelming. So understanding all of this first is very key, which is why I've just been going on about it for a while, just to explain it so that we can all understand what's going on. And then moving forward, I'm sure you're going to know what I'm going to talk about, which is like learning how to master your attention. Okay? And there's a couple of ways. All right. First of all, you can master your attention and your focus based on what is actually going into your mind. So you can do that by putting yourself in a better environment so that what you do, see, hear, taste is going to be just better stuff that goes into your mind. You can put blinders on, like I said, like I do that. I try to focus on myself and not get distracted so much by others, by the story of other people's lives, and I try to bring my presence into the life of other people and into the world. Um, so that's one way to learn to master things is by what's actually going into your brain. But doing that still doesn't change the little processor in your mind that's kind of become more geared towards fear than love. Okay, so even if you are feeding your mind just positive, happy, awesome, energizing things, they're still going into this processor that hasn't really been reconditioned to be more balanced, which is what you need to do. It's still kind of like in its fearful state, but at least you're giving it good stuff, so everything is good. But the thing is that doing that, like a lot of people will think, okay, I'm going to just do good, healthy things for a long time, and that's going to help. And of course, it will help, but it's not going to change that processing muscle in your head. To change the processing muscle, it's going to take some reconditioning. And what that means is when you when you do when something negative does happen to you, or it's not even that's not even the way to word it properly. When something happens and your processor in your mind views it as negative, and then you're going to feel the emotional pain, loneliness, anger, depression, whatever, yeah? But remember, it's your processor that's doing that. Everything out in the world, it just is. It's not good, bad, sad, lonely, painful. It's none of that. It's just life. But it goes in through your eyes, ears, mouth, touch, whatever, and then in your brain it goes through your processor. And then your processor is going to be like, oh, this is bad, or this is sad, or I hate this, or I like this, or blah blah. So it's all about this processor that we need to like condition, and it doesn't happen overnight. It can happen overnight, but that's a different story. What we can do is we can work it out like a muscle and make it more positive and balanced. And the way to do that is that when something does come in from the outside world, let's say someone says something to annoy you or someone does something to hurt you, comes into the world, remember, yeah, it's there's nothing bad about it yet until it hits your processor. Then your processor, which is the way you see the world, uh, makes that something painful or whatever. So when that happens, and you do feel that pain or whatever, the loneliness, sadness, this is where it's so important to become aware, because as soon as you feel the emotion, then you can be like, ah, okay, I feel like crap right now. Then you can kind of like become aware of this process and be like, right, why am I feeling like crap? Why is my processor set this way? And then you can, this is where journaling really helps. You basically need to like convert your negative self thinking, your processor, into positive self thinking. So if this person like said something to hurt me, I can be like, man, what a fool. I hate this person. I'm never gonna talk to this person again. This person's out of my life now, you know. And then you're just thinking about this person for like, it can happen for the whole day. You'll just waste your entire night worrying about this person. Or when this happens, you can try to recondition your processor to be more positive and be like, no, this just is this, and then remember that everyone is different. Everyone has their good and bad sides, even yourself. You know, we all have some awesome things about us, and we all have things that are just horrible and irritating about us. We all have them. And that maybe try to focus more on the good things about that person, and then don't interact with the bad side, or try to avoid the bad side. Or if you can be a really awesome person, you can accept the bad stuff that comes out. And but in my opinion, my advice is, you don't have to deal with that too much, the bad stuff. Focus on the good and keep your interactions based on the good sides of people. Focus on that, and then you'll help them to nurture their more positive sides. And then you can create a relationship based on the positive common ground between you guys. But if you focus on the bad stuff, then everyone's going to have something bad. And you're going to be alone. You're going to hate everyone because we all have things that are going to irritate and be stupid and whatever. Yeah. Anyways, this video's gone on way too long. But basically, there's a ton of steps. So if you've got questions, just leave some comments and I can answer them. But step one is just learn to retrain your mind. Before that, try to be aware of what's going on and use the feelings, the emotions you have as the flags. So when you feel something, be like, oh, okay, I need to be aware. This has been triggered by a thought. Emotions are always triggered by thoughts. All right, and just understand that what's going on with us, with you, with everyone, is this hypersensitivity, and you don't want to isolate yourself and keep yourself in an environment that's going to be soothing, because then it's going to always be difficult for you to interact out with the world. So have a balance of both. Re-energize yourself, but then when you go out in the world, take your training with you. Use the world as your training practice room. And you go out, and when you interact with someone, try to be aware, listening more. There's nothing wrong with listening more. And breathing is important. Breathe in and out, listen